Okay, guys, let's start the session that is on quality assessment and grade assessment. Okay, grade assessment is a very, very important skill. Okay, mostly even the people who are experts in Meta, they mostly what they do is they delegate all the other tasks or data extraction analysis to the other members of the group, but they try to do grade assessment by themselves. Even you can see here, let me show you. There's the SARMA that is published, systematic review and Meta with grade assessment. Okay, let me show you. Mhm. Okay, so they have done a meta-analysis on pharmacological and non-pharmacological interventions for irritability in autism spectrum disorder. And they have specifically mentioned that we have done this meta with the grade assessment. Okay, so grade assessment is a very important thing. It's some people say it's optional. Okay, and some people even don't go for doing the grade assessment. They're like, it's fine without the grade assessment. Your article is complete, your meta is complete. Okay. But if you do the grade assessment, then if there are any shortcomings in your meta analysis, like if there is any stuff like that, of anything missing out and anything like that stuff, it will cover for the all the shortcomings in your meta. Okay, so you always have to go for doing the grade assessment. Never ever skip out on that thing. Okay, firstly we will talk about the quality assessment and then we will do the grade assessment. Okay, so we have done topic selection, data extraction, analysis, and then we did. Now we are doing the quality assessment. Okay, now we are doing the quality assessment and grade assessment. Last lecture would be on manuscript writing. Even the best thing about this is that you guys learn all the steps by yourself, so that even if you don't complete, or if you guys get stuck in your exams and anything like that stuff, you can collaborate with other people. If you know all the steps of a meta analysis, that's totally fine. You can collaborate with other people, and then of course add and increase to your publications. Okay, so after you are doing the analysis, the next step would be, one person can think that would be manuscript writing, but these are two side things that we do in a meta analysis. Okay, meta analysis is all about ensuring that improving the accuracy of your data. Okay, you have to state all the things very structurally. Like what we did in the start, we made a proper search strategy, we did a proper screening of all the databases, made a data extraction sheet, made sure that all the values are right, and then did the analysis. And now we are doing these two steps again to improve the quality of the meta of our article. So, quality assessment we do for two things. One is the quality assessment for, we have two types of studies, of course. We have RCTs and cohorts. For the cohorts, we used a scale that is the Newcastle Ottawa scale. You simply have to answer the questions and add the values. It's very easy. And for RCT, we use the Robin 2. Quality assessment is a very easy step. It just takes like half an hour. Even mostly the AI softwares do it perfectly well, exceptionally well, in just 2 clicks. So quality assessment is totally not a difficult step. Okay, so let's start the quality assessment for a cohort study. We have chosen this one as a cohort study, as a sample cohort study. Semaglutide versus tirzepatide for weight loss in adults with overweight and obese population. Okay, for weight loss, we are doing the weight loss study and we are checking the efficacy of these two drugs in adults who are overweight or obese. Okay, and let me search upon the Newcastle Ottawa scale. You will go on Google, you will write the Newcastle Ottawa scale. You'll scroll down and choose this one that has written the PDF on it. Okay, you have to download the PDF. Okay, so now we have downloaded the PDF. Let me just cross this one and bring it over here. Okay, it is stating that a study can be awarded a maximum of 1 star for each numbered item in the selection and the exposure group. And in this section, this question, you can award it 2 points. A maximum of 2 stars can be given for comparability. Okay, so now let's see about the stars. Also, you can see here that this is the Newcastle Ottawa scale for case control studies. This is the Newcastle Ottawa scale for the cohort studies. We will be using this one because we are dealing in our SERMA with the cohort studies and the RCTs. Okay, so and this is another one. This is a guide that can help you in understanding the stuff. Okay, so you have to just answer these questions. Even if I give a prompt, okay. So sorry, one thing that is left is we do quality assessment for each study that we have included. Okay, for example, if you have included around 10 studies in your data extraction, okay, you have included 10 studies and you are extracting the data from them in your final secondary screening, you have included 10 studies. Okay, so for each study you have to do this. For the cohorts you have to make a separate one. For the RCTs you will do a separate one. Okay, so you what we will do is, you guys are around 10 people in each group. We will give one study to one person and we'll ask him or her to do the quality assessment of that article. Okay, so what you will do is, you will open up that article. As I have opened this article, I have opened the Newcastle Ottawa scale, and last thing is the sample that I have shared in your group right now. Let me open it up. Sorry. Okay, where did we go? That was sample. Yes, Newcastle Ottawa scale sample. I have shared it with you guys. You have to fill it. Okay, you have to fill it accordingly, and then we will share in the group. Okay. How we will be reporting this in our manuscript, we will be making a table, okay, like this one, separately for just the cohorts. For the RCTs, we will deal with that later. This is just for the cohorts. Write the ID of the study here, for last name of the first author and the year it was published. Okay, and then you have to answer these questions, 1 2 3 questions. Now we will be answering them. Okay, for each study we will answer a separate one. Okay, so the first question, it is asking me for AI softwares, what you can do is just like go here on Perplexity, upload the study, and ask it to rate it according to the Newcastle Ottawa scale. It will give you how many stars you will the AI assign that study. Okay, this is all according to you. Nobody can check it. Even the editor cannot check it. Have you assigned the right stars to the study or not, or have you done a good quality assessment or not? Only if you will give a poor quality assessment to your articles or even to the study, or even if you will say that this article is very poorly done, okay, you give it 1 star, only then will the editor be like, oh, why is he or she is giving it a 1 star, let me check it further, and that would decrease the quality of your SERMA. Okay, so you have to go towards the side of giving it a higher quality, unless there is some very big mistake in the whole RCT that was done. Okay, so the first thing they have asked is, what is the representativeness? This is the first question. Representativeness of the exposed cohort. Okay, about your study, about the study that we have included. It is asking you have to answer this question first. So first question is, what is the representativeness of the cohort? Is it truly representative of the community? Okay, or somewhat representative, or have you gone for selected group of users, or there is no description in the derivation of the cohort? For example, I am doing semaglutide versus tirzepatide for weight loss in adults. Okay, just the adults. But this article, this is my SERMA topic, semaglutide versus tirzepatide for weight loss in adults, nothing more. Okay, but this article is dealing with overweight and obese patients. It is not dealing with all adults, it is just dealing with overweight and obese patients. Okay, so I will say it is somewhat representative of the average in the community. Okay, and if I am doing a SERMA on semaglutide versus tirzepatide for weight loss in adults with overweight and obesity, then this whole article is truly representative of what I want to check. Okay, for example, whatever topic I have in my mind, for if I am going for early metformin versus insulin for gestational diabetes, and that is my SERMA topic, and if I find a cohort that is on early metformin versus insulin for gestational diabetes above 26 weeks. So that means it is somewhat representative because they have specified one condition. And if it is just for gestational diabetes, then I will say it is truly representative. Okay. If it is on selected group of people like HIV people, nurses, volunteers, engineers, doctors, then you will go for assigning it no star. And if there is no description of the sort, then you will also give a no star. If it is among these two, you will give it one star. Okay, so what you will do is you will come here, you will give it a star. Just that. Okay, because this study is on the topic of overweight and obesity, and I'm doing on the same one on it, so I've given it one star. Okay, so let's see what's the second question. And it is asking, what about the control group? Is it drawn from the same community as a cohort? Or is it drawn from a different source, or there is no description? Okay, same community, that means, for example, this study is conducted in okay, in the US. Okay, or we can say, let me see, where was it conducted? Okay, this study was a subset of Truveta data in the US healthcare system. Okay, okay, so you can think what some people do is they take one whole group of people and then divide them into half people for the experimental group and half people for the control group. Okay, so for that thing, we will say that it was drawn from the same community. If I go for choosing my intervention group from America and my control group from Europe, even you can see here, like representativeness of the exposed cohort, they have mentioned truly representative of the average patient with mental illness uh, in the community. Somewhat representative means that if any study is there like that is dealing with high risk of mental illness or any comorbids or in diabetic patients, so you will go for using somewhat representative. If it is on selective group of users, then no star. Okay, for only if it is above in these two, then you will go for the star. Okay, and then selection of the non-exposed cohort, we have already discussed this. Next thing is ascertainment of exposure. Okay, so how did you measure what was it thing in that group? Okay, like for example, in this group we have semaglutide versus tirzepatide for weight loss in adults with overweight and obesity. So how did they check about the exposure? Exposure is overweight and obesity. How were they checking the exposure? Like were the people obese or not? Like we will check from here. We will go down and we will see that they have used the data from a US healthcare system and linked electronic health records from a collective of US healthcare system. Okay. So if it was a secure record, go for giving it one star. If it is an interview, go for giving it a one star. Okay. For example, if we are dealing with a study on anxiety, okay, and they have a measured anxiety using a proper scale, okay, or using a proper questionnaire, then you will go for doing this structured interview. If the person comes to you and just say that I am overweight without anything without any evidence of the sort, then we will give it a no star. And if there is no description, then we will also give it we will not give it a star. Only in these two cases we will give the thing a star. Okay, so you will go here, you will give a star in this case, you will give a star in this case. And now what about S4? Demonstration that outcome of interest was not present at the start of the study. For a cohort group, you have to see that how did they remove the confounders. Okay, for this thing you have to go in detail. Okay, you have to give a thorough read to the whole article to answer these questions. What does it mean that the outcome was not present at the start of the study? We are seeing the effect of semaglutide to cause weight loss. Okay. So if the group we are going for, the cohort group we are choosing, we have to make sure that the persons were already not suffering from weight loss. Did the people who did this study check that? Okay, we will go here in the data section. Mm, Only adult patients with a regular interaction with the healthcare system and an available baseline weight were included. Okay. And patients were followed up for weight loss and stuff like that. Only those were included that were already checking up with the healthcare system. It was not that thing that they were already suffering from weight loss because of cancer or any other unknown disease like TB or anything like that. Okay. So we will say yes, it was not present at the start of the study. Also, when you will be giving it a more read, you will see the inclusion criteria, like those who were overweight and overweight threshold was this one, who had a negative history of this. We limited our analysis to those only that had that were interacting with the healthcare system beforehand, and they had a proper weight before the index date and all that stuff. Okay, so of course, a clinical trial is done in a very thorough manner. Mostly, your studies will have a good record. Only some articles, some studies done in Asia, Africa, uh, can have some problems. Otherwise, mostly RCTs are done in a very proper manner. Okay, so next one. Next, we have the comparability. Comparability of cohorts on the basis of design or analysis. Once again, here we can see comparability of cohorts on the basis of design and analysis, like study controls for study controls for any additional factor. Once again, let us see the study controls for age, race, gender for an additional factor. That means, are the cohorts comparable to each other or not? Okay, like the group that you are designing or dedicating to the intervention group and the one that you are giving to the control group, are they comparable or not? Okay, it should be the cohort or the cohort that you are following, it should be very much comparable in the basis of design and analysis. It should have been have a very proper structure. Study controls, like age should be properly defined, race, gender, any additional factor, and all that stuff. If you have controlled the confounders, okay, in a way this you have to go for the confounders thing. Okay, you are comparing it on the basis of design and analysis is done. Both the groups are dealt with the same analysis test. Both records are taken from the same health records. Okay, so that means it is all comparable. Both the groups are very much comparable together, or they are both matched, okay, in a way. So you can give 2 stars here. If it is controlling for age, race, and gender, you will give it a 1 star. If it is controlling for any additional factor, you will give it another star. You can give 2 stars in this section, okay, comparability section. Okay, for example, let me give you an example of this one. We will search here confounders. Confounded. Okay. To provide further control for the confounding, age, presence of diabetes, and baseline were all included as covariates in all parametric and subparametric models. Okay. So they are saying that all the tests that they did, age, type 2 diabetes, baseline weight, were all confounded together. So they have added additional factor, that is the presence of type 2 diabetes and weight according to the study. So we will be giving it 2 stars. Okay, 1 star for this one, for age, race, and gender, the baselines, and another star for an additional factor according to the study. Okay, so we will give it a 2 star here in comparability section. Star 1, star 2. Okay, what about the outcomes? Outcomes mean assessment of the outcome. How did they measure the weight loss? How did they measure the weight loss? Okay, the outcome that they were looking at, was it independent blind assessment? Was it like proper blinding was done? The people who were measuring the weight, they were not earlier informed that this group is the intervention group and this group is the control group and all that stuff. Or did they check from the records? Or it was self-report that just the patient came and said that I am having weight loss, or there is no description. Okay, so we will go here and we will see this one. Percentage in change in body weight was calculated this method. Even here we will say patients were censored at the first. Okay, we will see how did they calculate the weights. We will go in the data section. Okay, patients were classified weight outcomes. Okay, in the weight outcomes we will see how did they measure the weight. For weight change, only the subpopulation was the weight value nearest to the time was calculated. And yes, of course, they have measured, and they would not be mentioning this thing that the weight was measured by a weight machine. But now they are stating how did they calculate the weight. Percentage change in body weight was properly, they were controlling it by themselves. It was not that the patient just came up and said that I am experiencing a weight loss. Okay. So it was a proper independent blind assessment. It was not from the records. It was not self-report. Okay, so we will give it one more star. And then next thing is, was follow-up long enough for outcomes to occur? Yes or no? Adequacy of follow-up the cohorts. Mostly the studies would have mentioned this, that they did a proper follow-up or not. Okay. For any problem in a cohort study or in an RCT, this is all the things that you will be checking um, in your for the cohorts. Okay, for the cohorts, you will be going through this stuff, and then you will assign it a total score: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Total score is 9 stars. If it is okay, let me show you. Mostly the studies that have any problem, they have mentioned it in their limitation section. Okay, like this is the study. We will go down, and at the end they would have mentioned if there are any limitations in the study. In the strength and limitation section, you can see they would have mentioned that how did they go, what were the limitations. Okay, so you can give it also a thorough read, and if you can find any problem that was according to this questionnaire, you can mention this, or you can give it a smaller score. Otherwise, you can also use an AI software, and it will help you to counter check, have you given the proper stars or not. So this is the scoring on the Newcastle Ottawa scale. If it is 6 to 9 points, it's good. Okay, the study has good quality. If it has 3 to 5 points, it's fair quality. If it has just 0 to 2 stars, then it is poor quality. Okay. So that was about the Newcastle Ottawa scale. Now we will be moving on to the next one, that is the RCT. This is the RCT that we'll be using as a sample one. You will write here. We use the uh, Robis Robis tool. Okay. We will open this one, the risk of bias tools. Robin tools, Rob 2, the current version, that is the latest one. Then you will come down. Even you can go through this whole slide if you want to know everything about the Robin 2 quality assessment, full guidance document, summarizing the tool, template for completing the assessment, or an Excel tool. We will be using the Excel tool. Okay, it is downloaded. What you will do is you will come first here where it is downloaded and right click on it. Go for show more options, properties, unblock. Okay, if you will not unblock it, you will not be able to use it. Apply, then I will open it. Okay, so now I have opened this. It is stating that macros have been disabled, you have to enable them. You will open up this form, the ROB2 assessment form. Okay, so now we have got this. This is the same one as the Newcastle Ottawa scale, but here the problem is not the problem. The difficulty is that it has a little bit more questions. It has around these many questions. It has 5 domains that you have to answer. Okay, but it also takes just like half an hour. Firstly, you will write the name of the study here in the study ID. You can write here like Sumaya 2025. Who is the assessor? This is the name of you, your name. You can write here Sumaya. I'm doing it. What is the study ID again? You can write in 2025. Any experiment? What is the experimental group? Early metformin, comparator, insulin. What is your main outcome of the study? We can say glycemic index. Here you have to write the main primary outcome of that RCT. Okay. You will not be changing this stuff. Intention to treat or protocol, no intention to treat analysis. Okay, wait one, don't change this one. Okay, so it is stating how will you obtain this information from the general article trial and clinicaltrials.gov record. Statistical analysis plan also we can go for this one. Okay, so the first question is, was the allocation sequence random? Okay, we will press this one, guidance internet access. Okay, so this one is my article. Of course, it's a randomized controlled trial, so allocation was random, but still, if you want, you can go through the whole article. And of course, everybody of you will be assigned a proper article. So you have to go through that whole article and you will see, was it random or not? Was it random or not? Okay, so they have mentioned this. It was a double blind, placebo controlled trial that was conducted in two centers in Ireland. Okay, so I will go down. Yes, I will state, was the location sequence random? Yes, it was. It was partially yes, partially no, no, or not reported, not indicated. Yes. Even if you double click on it, it will help you to decide which one are you going for. Okay, it will further explain it if you are unable to decide. Was the allocation sequence concealed until participants were enrolled? Was there blinding done or not? Like concealed means hidden. Was it hidden from the participants that they will be assigned in the intervention group or not? If there was blinding, then of course the participant did not know. Okay. Blinding means there are three types of blinding. Single blind means that only the participants don't know which drug are they being given. Double blinding means not even the participants know and even the examiner does not know. Triple blinding means not even the participant knows, even the examiner does not know, and also the person who is analyzing the data does not know. Okay, so there's like a fourth party involved. So we go for triple blinding is the best one. Was the allocation sequence concealed? Yes, it was concealed. Did baseline differences between the intervention group suggest a problem with the randomization process? Was there like a very big, sorry, was there like a very big difference in the intervention and the control group? They are asking about that. Okay, so let me just close it. So we will go here in the first table of the baseline variables. Okay, we will see, is there a big difference in between them? Age is same of the two groups. Even the races are same. Highest level of it's the same. Smoking during pregnancy is same. Prior hypertension, yes, somewhat different. Nulliparous is almost same. What about previous obstetrical history? Almost same. What about cesarean delivery? So it's almost same. So it is not affecting our study. Okay, so we will go back. Was the location? What did baseline differences suggest a problem? No. You will click here and it's stating that it's all good, it's low. So we will choose low here and then move on to the next step. Were participants aware of their assigned intervention? No, it was blinded, so they were not aware. No. Were carers and people who were delivering, they aware? So it would also it was double blinding, so no, they were not aware. Okay. If you will choose yes here, then you are able to, then you will be given more question because they were aware, were there deviations because of this thing, so then you will have to answer this thing also. Okay, you will see that from the intervention from the limitations of the study they might have mentioned that thing. What the deviations, did the deviation affected the outcome? The person who will have gone through the article wholly, he would know all the answers to these questions. Was an appropriate analysis test properly used? Like, was a proper test of analysis was used? And if not, did it affect the outcome or no? So you will have to answer it. Okay, so I will press low. Mostly it would be all good. There would be proper blinding and all that stuff, unless the study is done in a very poor way. Okay, once again, you can take the help of AI, or the main thing is you do it properly by yourself. You are just given one study, you have to just go through it whole and then answer these questions. Were data from this outcome available for all participants? Was randomization done or not? No, it this domain is about missing outcome data. Okay, so it is stating, it is asking that all the participants that did you randomized, did you include the data of all the people or not? Okay, so I will write here. I will go back to check how many people in the graph that we have here, like how many people were randomized. 264 were randomized to receive metformin. Okay, four did not receive, two withdrew consent, two withdrew from the study, and 264 pregnancies included in the primary analysis. So the all the people who were randomized, we have data of all those 264. 262 were randomized, and we have data of all the 262 people. Okay, so yes, there is some kind of problem here, but it is very low values. Either we can go for reporting it, we can say no, the data was not available for all. Is that evidence? It is asking that do you think that the missing data is has affected the results? So we will say no. Okay, could missingness depends on its true value? No, it is likely that missingness dependent on the true value, and we will write low here. Even if the data is missing, if it has not affected the result, it's totally fine. Okay, it's low. Low bias in the whole article. Okay. Next one, domain 4. Even if you will press double press on it, you will you it will explain the whole thing. Okay. What about the domain 4? Measurement out of the outcome. Was a proper method used to measure the outcome? Yes. In if no, if I say no, a proper outcome was not used, it will ask me, do you think that the result outcome was affected because a proper test was not used? Were the assessors aware that were outcome assessors aware whatever intervention they were receiving, and did it affect the results or anything like that? The assessment was influenced by the knowledge of intervention, whatever. Okay. Proper method was used, it will all go. Could may have differed in intervention? No. It is asking that do you think that different test was used between the two groups? So if I'm using no, no, could measurement of outcome have differed between the intervention groups? Was the method of measuring the outcome inappropriate? No, it was not inappropriate. It was proper. Could measurement have differed between the intervention groups? No. Were the outcome assessors aware? No, they were not aware. Once again, I will press on it, and this is okay. To classify any study as high risk of bias, it will decrease the quality of your SARMA. Okay, so you have to be very careful in assigning it a very poor bias, but you, of course, you have to be correct also. If you are making big mistakes and you are giving all the studies that are included all high rating, that would also compromise the your study. Were the data that produced this result analyzed in accordance with the pre-specified plan? It is stating some, of course, any RCT that is done, it is previously registered in the protocol. Okay, it is in the clinical trials or GOV. It is registered in that. They are asking, do you think? Of course, don't you think was the result analyzed accordance with the plan, or after registering they changed the plan? So we will go back and see. They would have mentioned this thing plan. Okay. The statistical analysis were conducted in accordance with the pre-specified in accordance with the statistical analysis plan. Okay, so they have mentioned this thing that we did it accordingly. Yes. Some people what they do is for the RCT, if that is wrong, what they do is to make the result right, they go for using multiple scales, different scales. Okay, if anxiety is not being proved by one scale, they will use another scale. So it is asking, do you think that they use different scales and to prove their results? Or they did different analysis to prove the results, so it should not be in that case. Okay, a proper test should be used that was decided beforehand, and proper one analysis should be used for all the groups. Okay, so that is important thing. If you're not able to understand anything, you will just double click on it and it will explain. Even if you are not able to get it, understand it, you can just Google it and also explain it. But we have covered the whole thing. Okay, let us go through the stuff again. This what a good RCT would be one that would be randomized. Even the participants and the examiner should not know about the sequence. There should be no baseline differences. The participant should not be aware, and nobody should be aware of the what medication is being affected to them, is given to them. A proper analysis test should be used for both the groups. Okay, if there is any missing data, it should be very less, that it should not affect the results. Method of measuring the outcome should be very much appropriate, and the participant should not be aware of it or whatever intervention it. One proper analysis plan should be designed beforehand, before starting the trial, and it should be followed throughout. Multiple tests, multiple analysis should not be done. And what about the overall bias? Of course, it would be low. Then you will close it, you will save it, you will close it, you will go back, you will click on figures, and it will make a traffic light plot of this study. Okay, so for the first study, we have got the traffic light plot. For all the RCTs, you will go back, you will open it again. For another RCT, you will be changing the data and then save it and then adding more studies here. Okay. So for all the RCTs, you will be having one traffic light plot. For all the cohort studies, you will be having one this table of quality assessment. You cannot use this one. So what we will do is we will go back and once again we will write here Robvis tool. You will click on this Shiny apps. We will open up this data set, Rob2 data set. Okay, and you will fill the values here first. Okay, in this data set you will add the values. Okay, for the domain one it's low, 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 and overall. What about study two? If you are including just two studies, delete the other one. Okay, so it should all be in this form. Okay, otherwise it will not make the table. Then we will go to make a table. Upload your data, Rob2, upload the data, whatever that you will have make. It will add it here, generate plot. Now this plot has been generated. You will download it, save image as, or even you can go up here, download the plot, you will download it, and then we will add it in our manuscript. Okay, so this was it about the quality assessment. Now next we will be starting the grade assessment. Okay, so let me start. Grade assessment is considered a little bit of a difficult thing, but it's not that hard. If you can learn it, that would be all good. So this is the table of grade assessment. Okay. In quality assessment, what we were doing is we were dealing with each study independently. Okay. We were seeing what about this cohort, what about this cohort, what about this RCT, what is the quality of this RCT, what is the quality of this RCT, and all that stuff. Okay. In grade assessment, we don't discuss about the studies, we discuss about the outcomes. Okay. Like you have made the data extraction sheet, you have primary outcome, you have secondary outcome. Okay. For each outcome, we will be making one separate row. If you have five outcomes, just five rows. Okay. So we have these groups, this table, how we will be making it. Let us make it in Word. Okay. So we will have a table around 8 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. In the first one, in the first row, you will write about the outcome. Okay, so we consider the outcome is mortality. In the next column would be about the total participants. In the next one, we have the total outcome. Yes, you have discussed the outcome, participants. The next one, we have the effect size. In the next one, we have risk of bias. In the next one, we have inconsistency, imprecision, publication bias. Okay, wait a minute. Overall bias, indirectness. Okay, so when you will run that outcome, okay, let us cross it all. Robis, risk of bias assessment, element formant. Okay, let's cross this whole thing. We have discussed this all. Okay. So we will be dealing with this outcome when you will run it on Revman. You will get a table like this. Okay, you will get a proper table like this on Revman. You will have the study group. This is the intervention group. This is the control group. This is the risk ratio. Okay, and this is the whole data we discuss in the analysis class. Okay, so this is about mortality outcome and about different usage of are you using a filter for the embolization device, or if you are not using a embolization device, so that's the control, and if you are using it, that's an intervention group. Okay. Okay, so first we are dealing with this outcome, that is a mortality. But how many participants are there in the intervention group? We have 5609 in the intervention group, and in the control group we have 5491. So how many total participants? Calculator, let me open up the calculator. 5609 plus 5491 is equal to 11,100. So total participants that are being discussed in this outcome is this much. What is the effect size? You will just pick it up from here. This one, 0.88 with the standard deviation 0.70 to 1.12 from that table. Okay, so there is nothing difficult about this step. This is all just about that outcome. Okay. Mortality we have discussed, and effect size. These three things are just about the outcome. From here, the bias is starting. Okay, five measures. One, two, three, four, five. This is last one is just like the total score. Okay. Mhm. Okay, so let us start. If these all studies are RCTs, okay, if this outcome is reported just by the RCTs and you are not dealing with any cohort, you will give it automatically. RCT is given a high grade. RCT is given a high grade and a cohort is given a moderate grade. Okay, we consider RCT as the highest level of evidence and a cohort as a moderate level of evidence. Okay, so if it is reported, if all these studies that are reporting this outcome are RCTs, we will write high here. If any of the study is a cohort, if like these two are RCTs, this one is cohort, and these two are again RCTs, we will give it a starting quality of moderate. A cohort is given a quality of moderate. If it is reported just by the RCTs, we will give it a value of high. Okay, so we in the starting step, we will give it a full value that is moderate. And now if there is any bias, we will downgrade it. Okay, so we have four levels: high, moderate, low, very low. Okay. So if they are equal number, like three RCTs and three cohorts, then what we will do is like we will do a subgroup analysis. That's a separate thing. That's a little bit more advanced thing. We will not go for that. But accordingly, you have to go for, if it is RCTs, you will give it a high grade. If it is cohort, you will give it a moderate grade. Okay. If it is just one cohort in between, you will give it a moderate grade. If they're like two cohorts, then we will go towards subgroup analysis. That's different. I don't expect you guys to know that much, okay? But you should be knowing all the major stuff, okay? So next step would be overall bias. We have given it a level of moderate quality. It's a very good quality overall. Quality overall grade. What is overall? Not bias. Overall grade. What is the grade? It's moderate. Okay. In these five steps, in these five ones, this is the most easy. This is the easiest one. Indirectness. Okay. Indirectness means, have you included any study that is not directly reporting this outcome, or yes, that is not directly reporting this outcome? For example, I am dealing with the role of uh, two different medicines in mortality of polycythemia vera. Okay, that's like a disease. And if I have included any study that is reporting the role of two medications on the mortality of the myelodysplastic syndrome, that is like a bigger category of polycythemia vera, my PCOS, it is not following my PCOS, then I will have to report that this is serious and I will have to downgrade it. I will downgrade it to low. Okay, I have downgraded this outcome to low. Okay, if I have reported any study that is not according to my PCOS. Mostly we don't do that. That people mostly do for those studies that are like very rare. So of course we are not. We strictly followed our PCOS, so we will be including this one as non-serious. And we will just keep the grade as it was before. Okay, so non-serious means you will now downgrade it. If you will write serious here, you will be downgrading it. So this was the easiest one. The next one that is easy is publication bias. When you generate this on Revman, there is like a funnel plot symbol given. I discussed that with you guys in the last lecture also. You will click on it and you will get a funnel plot like this. Okay, Revman just helps you identify if there is a publication bias using a forest plot. Okay, for further analysis, we have to use R, but we will not be discussing that. You can use a funnel plot only if you have more than 10 studies. If you have less than 10 studies, you cannot run you cannot do a publication bias. You will just write not reported. This is applicable only on more than 10 studies. Okay, so for example, this one, it had just one, two, three, four, five, just five studies. We will not report a publication bias on it. But if you have around more than 10 studies, and if your funnel plot is coming like this one or this one, if it is symmetrical, like if you can properly make a triangle through all the squares, and if the data is almost symmetrical, you will write not serious here. And if the studies are not symmetrically divided, okay, for example, you have many studies that are favoring the treatment and very few studies that are favoring the control, that means it is not symmetrically divided. That means you have a publication bias. What does publication bias mean? For example, people are only reporting or doing studies on the benefits of aspirin, and there is no study on the side effects of aspirin. So we can say that there is a problem in the literature, there is a problem in the publication industry, that it is only reporting the stuff that is good for the aspirin. Okay, so that means that there is a publication bias. If your funnel plot is coming like this, you will write serious and downgrade it. Downgrade the grade to low. Okay, but for now we will not be downgrading it, we will keeping it as such. Okay, so next one is the risk of bias. Okay, so this is important. We are left with three things, one, two, three, and they are a little bit difficult to understand. Okay, so let's go back. For the risk of bias, you will see your quality assessment graph. This one, okay, that we saw earlier when we were dealing with when in the quality assessment of RCTs. Okay, this is the quality assessment table of the RCTs, and this is for, of course, you would have made for one outcome. Okay, so let me check here. This is for the RCTs, and for the cohorts, what we did, we made the Newcastle Ottawa scale. So we will open up this table. Let me drag it here. This outcome table, and we will see which studies are having poor quality. Okay, so low concern studies are three. One, two, three. We will write three studies are of low concern. And what are about two studies are having some concern, and high concern, no study. Okay, there is no study that is colored red. There is only low concern, that is green, and some concern means yellow. We will go back to this table and we will see the weightage of these studies. So what about the low concern one, that is Kappa-Diga 2017 and Mayhem 2016? What is the weightage of this study? Kappa-Diga 2017 weightage is 8.8 and Mayhem weightage is 0.6. You will go back and you will write the weightages. Some concern is in two studies and 8.8 weightage and 0.6 weightage. That comes out to be around 9.4%. High concern, 0%. What about no concern? 96.6%. Okay, it is apparent here that which percentage is the biggest one. Sorry, low concern or no concern is around 96.6%. So we will state that there is no problem in this outcome, and we will write here that the risk of bias is not serious. Okay, but what happens If the it was opposite and the some concern studies that we have, their weightage was more in this outcome. It was around, you can say, this one was 96 and low concern was 9.6. This is a little bit tricky, but if you guys can understand it, watch this lecture again and again, practice it. If you practice it more, you will be able to understand it better. Okay, and do it. Okay, the best thing is to do it. When you will do it, you will learn it. So, if some concern is now having more weightage, you will see we have two reasons. We have two further conditions here. If it is in one domain, like this one, this is causing this some concern, and it is in one domain, you will not downgrade. Okay, so it is not serious, you will not downgrade. If it is in two domains, it is serious, then you will downgrade. If there was any yellow coloring here, then we would have downgraded it. If you see any red plot here, any red circle here, you will downgrade. If you see two circles in two domains, like in this domain there is a red circle and in this domain there is a red circle, then you will downgrade to then you will downgrade 2 points. Like from moderate, it will go to very low. Okay. So this was about it. That was for the RCTs, okay? Because the forest light plot we get from the traffic light plot we get from the for the RCTs. For the Newcastle Ottawa scale, again you will do that thing. If it is of good quality, do not downgrade. Uh, Calculate the weightage. If fair is winning, you will downgrade by one. If low has more weightage, then you will downgrade by two. Okay. Once again, let's go back to the stuff. This is here we have written the outcome. We are doing it, we will be making a separate row for each outcome. Okay, from this Revman table we will calculate the total participants, effect size. For publication bias we will look at the funnel plot. We will automatically assign an overall grade. For indirectness we will see did we follow the PICOs or not. Okay, then we come to the risk of bias. In risk of bias, we will open up our quality assessment sheet and see what is the weightage of the studies that are in this outcome. So, Kappa, Diga, and Mayhem are having low concern. So, we will see the weightage of these studies. We will write here low concern are 3 studies, some concern are 2 studies. In this outcome, 2 studies are of some concern, that is around 9.4%. That's like very low voltage, low weightage, so we will not downgrade it. If it was more and two domains were being affected, then we will downgrade it by 2 points, by 1 point. And if there was any red blob here, we will downgrade it by 1 point. If there were two domains being affected, then we will downgrade by 2 points. Okay, I hope you guys understood. Okay, for the Newcastle Ottawa scale, once again, you will see which studies are there, what is their weightage, and if they are of good qualities, do not downgrade. If they are of fair quality, downgrade by one. If they're of lower quality, downgrade by two. Okay, 2 points. Like drop them by 2 points. Moderate to low, very low. This was for the risk of bias. Next, we have the inconsistency and imprecision, and that's the last thing. In the inconsistency, you have to see the heterogeneity. Okay. We will see the heterogeneity from here. So if the heterogeneity is more than 50% and p-value is significant and confidence interval and effect size is including 0, then you will downgrade if two of these are positive. Okay, for heterogeneity more than 50%, you will check from here. It should be less than 50%. P-value should be more than 0.05. That means it would be not significant. We discussed this in the previous lecture also. And if the confidence interval and effect size is including 0 or 1, according to the dichotomous or the Cochrane one, or like if it is crossing that middle line, okay, line of no effect. If crossing the line of no effect, then you will downgrade it, any of them. Okay, so but let's check here. Its heterogeneity is less than 50%, so it's cleared. P-value is more than 0.5, cleared. What about the confidence interval and effect size? Effect size, is 0.8. It's not crossing the line of no effect. It's good enough. This is crossing the line of no effect. Okay, like this one. Let me open up on Google. Line of no effect already we discussed in the previous session. Forest plot. And this one. Okay, in this one, this middle line is a line of no effect. If it is crossing the line of no effect, then that means you have to downgrade. This is the line of no effect. If your final summary is crossing the line of no effect, then you have to downgrade. Okay. This was about inconsistency. We will not downgrade in this one. In this case, and also the last one was the imprecision. For the imprecision, what we will do is we will check the p-value. If the sample size is more than 2000, here we had the sample size of around we had around of 11,000, so that was more than 2000. That was significant. If the confidence interval is not crossing the line of no effect, and if the p-value is significant, here it is not significant, then we will downgrade only if the p-value is less than 0.05. Okay, so this was about the imprecision. So we have discussed the risk of bias, inconsistency, indirectness, imprecision, and publication bias. Grade assessment is a little difficult thing to learn. You will have to practice it, and once you will do it on your study, only then you will learn it. But if you are not able to understand it, that's totally fine. It's like a very high skill. But I wanted to cover it because most of the mentorship programs do not cover this thing. Okay, so let me stop it. Okay, Abdul Rahman and Hamza, what I have done is I have recorded the whole recording because it was a little bit, I wanted to give you guys the whole thing. So let me share the recording in the group and then you guys can watch it, okay? And let me know if you don't understand anything. Okay, let me share with you guys, okay? Let me cross it.